Are you wondering if reading aloud to your child and talking to them actually makes a difference? Today, I want to share a scientific study that actually measured that. This comes from the book Meaningful Differences in the Everyday Experience of Young American Children. And this book was written by Todd Risley and Betty Hart. So if you're interested in learning more about this, you can definitely check that book out. So they studied kids in the United States, and they learned that on average, kids are exposed to 1,500 words per hour starting when they're born. So if you add that up to age 4, that means that by age 4, the average child has been exposed to 30 million words. That's a lot. But here's the part where it gets really interesting. They said that depending on how kids were raised, that number of words that they'd been exposed to by age 4 could be very different in a wide range. So kids that come from families where parents are intentionally talking to them and reading to them on a regular basis, these families are most often families where parents have a college education and are working in a professional career. Those families found that kids actually did not learn 30 million words by the time they were 4. They actually were exposed to 48 million words. So almost an extra 50% there. And they also studied kids who were raised in families where there wasn't a lot of language around. Kids weren't being intentionally talked to and read to on a regular basis. They found that these families often correlated with lower income families, although I do believe that we have the power as parents to change those statistics. But they found that these kids were only exposed to 13 million words by the time that they were 4, so less than half. So there's a really wide range there from 13 million words for the lowest top 2 kids all the way up to 48 million words, almost triple that amount from parents that were being really intentional about reading to and talking to their kids. So the other thing that they studied was the impact of kids being exposed to more words. And they found 3 correlations, which I thought were really interesting. First of all, they found that the number of words that kids are exposed to that they were measuring here directly impacts kids' IQ at age 3. They also found that it directly impacts kids when they're in 3rd grade. They found that it impacts kids' vocabulary when they're in 3rd grade, and also kids' reading comprehension, their ability to not only read text, but also to be able to understand what they've read. So clearly this is really important. It has both immediate impacts for our kids right away in their IQ, but it also has long-term impacts for our kids in their ability to read and to be able to understand what they're reading even years later. So as parents, what can we do with this information? I think the most important thing for us is to continue to spend time talking to our kids and spend time reading out loud to our kids on a regular basis. It's important that our kids are exposed to lots of different words, and one of the best ways to do that is by reading to kids. Books and written print has more vocabulary and a wider range of words than spoken language does. And so the more that we read out loud to our kids, the more exposure to new words that they'll have. And the more that we'll be able to see these benefits in them. Increased IQ at age 3, increased vocabulary and reading comprehension at 3rd grade. So hopefully this was interesting and helpful to you. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel so that you'll get notified whenever a new video is released.